and welcome back to the channel. Okay, I've been away for a couple of weeks, but I'm back now to report everything that's been happening with the launches of the Xbox Series X and the PS5. Right, as you are all fully aware, since the console's launched, a lot of sad little fanboys felt the need to attack Xbox in any way they could. Some of them bought Xbox Series X's and blew vape into them, which was exposed as a scam by people trying to claim that the Xbox Series X was on fire just so you can boost their YouTube channels for clicks and stuff. But in fact, it was just people blowing vape into it. Pretty pathetic, I know. I totally agree. But that's what that fan base does. They're pretty sad, really. So they jumped the gun there, but they now did it again with Valhalla and some of the games that are coming out. They jumped the gun. A lot of them have made videos on PS5 running better, and it's better than the Xbox Series X, and just gone all out attacking Xbox Series X, basically saying games are running better. That was a mistake.
Hello, my name is Dr. Sriram Elliswarpu, and I'm a urologist at the Men's Clinic at UCLA, which is a comprehensive center for men's sexual health, infertility, low testosterone, and other issues. I'm also an assistant clinical professor of urology at the UCLA Department of Urology. Today I'll be talking about premature ejaculation.
So the first week we had, yes, the PS5 games were running better than the multiplats were running better than the Xbox Series X versions. There's a simple explanation for this. I'm not quite sure why they've not grasped this yet, or maybe they just don't want to grasp it because, well, it suits their narrative. But the basics of it is the PS5 dev kits were out to devs quicker than the Xbox Series S dev kits. We know that because the PS fans told us this. They said the devs are getting their consoles first, dev kits first, PS5 dev kits first, so we will see better quality. And they preach this to us. Now they seem to have forgotten their own message. So yes, dev kits went out first to PS5. This is why the early games we see the quality better. But now as the weeks went on, the dev kits are getting used to the Xbox Series X, and they brought out patches which have now increased the Xbox Series X versions over the PS5. And then we've suddenly got people claiming that Xbox are paying devs for the PS5 versions to be weaker. Now in this case, on the I know, I couldn't keep a straight face then. Yes, I think Xbox are paying devs to make PS5 weaker. It's ironic that when the PS5 was running better than the Xbox Series X, there was no one complaining saying PS5 were paying the devs off for Xbox Series X to be weaker. But when it switches hands, then it's obviously Xbox are paying off people. It's the flip-flop's just weird in this world. And I was kind of hoping that this generation, the console wars would calm down, but it seems to be getting worse, and it's kicked off again with just stupidity. Bear in mind, we're talking about a fan base that comes out with crap like this.
Actually explained to us why many of these games were running at 30 frames per second, and it had nothing to do with limitations of the hardware. And let's get real for a second. Playing games at 30 frames per second doesn't feel bad. If the PlayStation 5 could run Horizon Forbidden West at 120 frames per second, I would still want the game running at 30. I would still want the game running at
Yeah, they say the wackiest things for clicks, don't they? So what actually happened was, so a patch come out, improved the Xbox Series X version, but it seems to pull down the performance of the PS5 version. You can look at this. This is on a PlayStation site, before I get told I'm a fanboy and I'm just spreading false rumours. So the performance of the PS5 version then decreased. That's why they think their Xbox are paying off Ubisoft. But what this all comes down to is the devs are just getting used to the new hardware. Over time, this will iron out on both systems. Both systems at launch. It's renowned. This has happened for generations. It happens on PC when you get new hardware on PC, graphics cards and stuff. At first, devs have problems with it, and until they find out, you give it a year, 6 months, a year, until it's ironed out the cracks and stuff, you're going to see ups and downs on both systems. So trying to compare and jump at someone saying, oh, this is better than that, blah, 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 you're just creating receipts for yourself. You're just going to look stupid at the end of the day. But that's based on the games. But let's actually look at the hardware. Now, this is the thing, because we've had lots of the same PS fanboys that are claiming Cerny was a genius, or he is a genius. We've had, actually I won't name names, because that would just be not very nice, would it really, if I just start naming people. But there are, you can Google this, Cerny is a genius, Google it on YouTube, you'll find various people, various PS fanboys that have claimed this. And they're wrong, basically, he's no genius. And let's go into why. So, while I'll agree both consoles have issues, all consoles have issues at launch. This is why a lot of people don't buy consoles at launch, because they rather wait until a lot of the problems are ironed out in the later consoles. Oh, by the way, I have to say sorry if there's a bit of an echo. I'm in an enclosed room with a gecko, and it's my mic's rubbish, basically. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back. So yes, both consoles have issues. However, nobody's calling Xbox creators geniuses as they are Mark Cerny, and I think he's getting far too much hype for what he's achieving. So the PS5 issues list is far longer than the Xbox Series X issues. That's a fact. This is why people are making up issues with the Xbox Series X, because it didn't have as many issues, so people are making things up. So let's look at the Xbox. Thankfully now, I mean, this is only a day old, so thankfully now a lot of the some of the issues are ironed out, mainly the ones that are solvable via patches. So update November 25th, there was a lot of software issues, which obviously can be resolved with patches, which is great. But there are still some issues that are not fixed, like connecting to the PlayStation Network. They've put that down to an influx of users. PS5 stores upon restart. They've not resolved that. They want more people to report on that. Ongoing power issues with your PS5. They've not solved that. Until Sony updates the firmware, the best advice is not to use any extended storage at this time yet, because there's no extended storage, because Sony have not made any external storages for it. No. So issues with data transfer after initial setup. There's still problems with that. Rest mode crashing the console. We still got that problem. Issue with power saving mode. Disable rest mode is how to sort of get around that issue. Updating the DualSense controller. Factory reset, I'm not sure what that's about. Popping noises heard in headset when using DualSense controller. HD camera and PlayStation camera not connecting. There's loads of ways around it, but there are quite a lot of issues with the PS5. Now, my gripe is that I just don't think a genius would have this many issues with his console. I also think he would have been more open, because in his original speech back in February, I believe it was, no, April I think it was, when he done his weird PowerPoint presentation with his hypnotic robotic voice, he told us he was going to go into more detail later on about things like the cooling system and stuff like that. He never did. He didn't do that. And we never got anything until about a week before launch, 2 weeks before launch, when you had some sort of investors into Sony, Japanese investors and that, just come out and take the console apart and stick it on the table and go, look, that's what it is, with no real explanation of anything. So my main gripe now with the PS5 is fans. Not their fan base, though that is a massive gripe because they're idiots. The factual fans in it. Right, Sony came out with this back in June. Sony on PS5 fan noise. A great deal of effort has gone into making PS5s quieter than PS4. So they give the impression they put a lot of effort into their fan system to make it quieter, basically. Though the actual case now, which has just come out, is a bit odd and a bit deceitful. I mean, deceit and misleading is what carries Sony, especially the last year, where they've been very misleading and very deceitful in advertising. But yes, certain PS5 consoles are noisy due to differing cooling fans, report suggests. So what's basically happened is what they've gone into here is that they took a PS5 apart and found the fan in it was quite noisy. They took another one apart, but then found it had an entirely different fan in it. So they got a load of PS5s and found a lot that the fan varied from console to console. So some had silent fans. This is very awkward to say. Some had silent fans. Some had loud fans. It sounds like Sony have really cheaped on this. It sounds like they've got a bunch of fans from, I don't know, some second-hand site, put some good ones in some of the consoles, and then bad ones in the others, but selling them all at the same price. It just sounds really dodgy and really deceitful. They go into details on it here. As you can see there, I think that's... it's up to fans there, isn't it? Look. So yeah, you can look up this. This is under Tech Radar. Certain PS5 consoles are warranted due to differing cooling fans, report suggests. So it's just very deceitful. Why have they not just got a standard fan in all their systems? Why have they just... It just sounds like they've really cut costs and budget at the player's expense, the console owner's expense, by just throwing some cheapskate fans in some of the consoles. And unfortunately they're getting away with it. And unfortunately their fan base is just defending them, saying, yeah, I don't care. What do you mean you don't care? You just bought a console for Jimmy who lives next door for the same price, but you've got a shitty cheap fan in yours, and he's got a decent fan in his. Yours making noise. Yours is noisier than his. You can say, oh, noise don't bother me. That's not the point. You're missing the point. You can't keep letting Sony do this and going, well, it don't bother me at the end of the day. It should bother you, because you're buying a product from a company and you're getting a lesser product than the person next door. This is very deceitful and just really hand-handed of Sony and their greed. I mean, it's not new to Sony's greed. I mean, was you all aware that Sony actually wanted to charge more for its games? It sold at $70, but it actually wanted to charge $80 to $90 for its games. I think this report shows... Have I gone into the wrong report? I probably have gone into the wrong report. But a report showed they wanted to sell their games at $80 to $90, but they were shot down for it. But they said that they will look into this later on in the generation. They may well still raise their game prices. But which is shocking when you're selling games like Demon's Souls, which is a PS3 remake, for $70, and Godfall, which is, you know what I mean? It's only £70. That's by the by. Back onto the fans, it's just very deceitful, and I think its gamers need to stand up and start saying things to Sony. Sony are getting away with far too much just underhandedness. And it's just really bad for gaming and really bad for players. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about you players, you gamers. They won't change unless you do something. You're all quick to jump on Xbox and complain about what they're doing wrong. And you know what? They adapt and change. They listen to you and adapt and change. But none of you complain to Sony. And they just keep laughing and keep rolling out the same crap. Because you just continue to make videos hating on Xbox, rather than facing the real issue, which is Sony misleading you and just doing cheap shots like putting shit fans in your consoles when they've told you they're putting decent fans. Who's got a genius running the helm. Tell me what you think below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it all. Thank you all for watching again, and yes, I'm back. Hopefully I won't be in such an echoey room next time. Goodbye for now.